This is the genesis of a monster. This is the making of Matthew Hoffman. In the fall of 2010, the town of Mount Vernon, Ohio, was a postcard of American tranquility. Autumn there was a festival of color, a symphony of crunching leaves and harvest bonfires. It was a season of warmth. At the center of that warmth was Tina Herman, a mother whose world revolved around her children, her son Cody, and her close friend, Stephanie Sprang. Their lives were woven from the ordinary, precious threads of work, school, and family. When authorities entered Tina's home on Yauger Road, they stepped into a chilling vacuum. The warmth had been sucked out. The air was still and cold. What remained was a silent scream of evidence, signs of a desperate, violent struggle, and stains that told a story no one wanted to read. Tina, Cody, and Stephanie were gone, vanished. They left behind everything but their bodies, leaving a community shrouded in dread and a police force staring into an abyss. It was an investigator's darkest puzzle. But in the void, even the faintest thread must be pulled, and this thread was a bicycle. A neighbor recalled a man, riding slowly, deliberately, near Tina's home in the days around the disappearance. He wasn't lurking, not in the classic sense. He was observing, calmly, almost thoughtfully, before pedaling away into the golden afternoon. A name emerged, spoken with hesitant unease. Matthew Hoffman. A quiet tenant, a bike mechanic. Polite but off. The kind of off that makes you lock your door a little faster. To comprehend the hunter, you must first see his nest. When detectives finally breached Matthew Hoffman's apartment, they did not find a chaotic crime den. They entered a sacred, sinister archive. The terrifying implication settled like a frost. If a man documents the wilderness with such clinical obsession, what category does he reserve for human beings? The origins of this horror were forged years earlier and a continent away, under the towering shadows of the Colorado Rockies. There, a solitary young Matthew Hoffman discovered his only solace in the deep, silent woods. But his was not a love of beauty. It was a hunger for possession. It wasn't enough to walk among the trees. He needed to claim them. He began sneaking into protected forests in the dead of night, not to camp, but to harvest. He illegally felled hundreds of trees, seeing them not as living entities, but as raw lumber for a private world only he could envision. This was the foundational corruption, a complete objectification of life. Everything was a resource. After relocating to Ohio, this sickness evolved. His collections expanded beyond branches and leaves. He became a phantom at windows, a silhouette watching the glowing scenes of domestic life from the darkness outside. Were these families now just more complex specimens for his study? Then, the theory of collection turned violently practical. Months before the disappearances on Yauger Road, a woman found herself alone on a familiar wooded trail. The peaceful sounds of nature distorted, replaced by a primal, skin-crawling sensation of being hunted. She turned, and he materialized from the greenery, as if born from it. His attack was swift, brutal, a frenzied attempt to acquire. She survived, becoming a living witness to the monster behind the odd neighbor's face. Her description, the intense, vacant eyes, the quiet demeanor, sealed it. Matthew Hoffman was now the target of a manhunt for attempted murder. But when law enforcement moved in, he had already evaporated. Through this act, Hoffman was telegraphing a message of utter control. He alone held the map to this tragedy. His subsequent arrest was a procedural formality. In the interrogation room, he was a pool of calm in a storm of urgency. He spoke in a flat, quiet monotone. He would guide them, he said. He would take them to the others. But he required a journey. He needed to return to the woods. What followed was a scene of surreal and profound dread. A procession of law enforcement vehicles, with Hoffman as their shackled navigator in the back of a van, wound deep into the Appalachian foothills. He directed them with an eerie, innate certainty. A turn here, a stop there. He led them off any known path into a tangle of undergrowth so thick it seemed to resist their passage. The light dimmed beneath the canopy. The temperature dropped. Every officer present understood they were walking, step by step, into the physical manifestation of one man's psychosis. And then he halted them. Before the group stood a monarch of the forest, a colossal oak tree. At its base, between great serpentine roots, was a black fissure, a natural hollow. Hoffman's silent nod towards the darkness was all the direction they needed. A detective knelt in the damp earth, his flashlight a tiny spear of light against the profound black. He clicked it on, and the beam pierced the void. It found denim, a sneaker, the curve of a hand, and then the full, cramped, heartbreaking horror was illuminated. All three of them, Tina, Cody, Stephanie, placed within the tree's ancient belly, folded into the earth and wood. This was Hoffman's magnum opus, his ultimate filing system. He hadn't merely hidden his victims, he had archived them in the grand, silent library he worshipped. The forest had become his accomplice and their tomb. Yet the violation had one final, grotesque layer. The search of his apartment, that museum of the natural world, revealed not just maps and leaves, but grim souvenirs belonging to the missing. And then, investigators found a digital camera. On its memory card were not snapshots of trees or trails, but images of the hollow tree itself, after its ghastly contents had been sealed inside. He had returned to visit the site, to document his work, to stand as both artist and curator of his own nightmare. This was the ultimate truth of Matthew Hoffman. His obsession was so absolute that human lives had been permanently cataloged as waypoints in his internal geography of horror. Today, Matthew Hoffman exists as a number in a prison system. His world shrunk from endless woods to a concrete cell. The great oak, that silent witness, was cut down and destroyed, a futile attempt to erase a memory that lives in the very air of that place. But some stories have roots too deep to ever be fully removed. The question lingers, as persistent as the scent of loam after a rain. Was Matthew Hoffman a man who fractured into a monster? Or was the monster the true core, simply waiting for the solitude of the trees to grant it expression? He listened to a language only he understood, and its central, terrible tenet was this: to truly possess something, you must first capture it, and then you must make it forever a part of your collection. He is remembered as the Leaf Killer, and his story stands as a chilling testament that the most frightening monsters are not those that leap from the shadows, but those that stand quietly in the dappled, beautiful light, watching, learning, and memorizing every path, every trail, every route home. If you are captivated by this deep dive into the twisted mind of the Leaf Killer, then you won't want to miss what's coming next. Our channel is dedicated to unraveling the most complex and chilling true crime stories, exploring the darkness that hides in plain sight. We devote countless hours to research and storytelling to bring you these comprehensive narratives. For more journeys into the heart of mystery, the psychology of crime, and the stories that will keep you questioning, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. The next story is waiting, and it's even more compelling than the last.